Whoa, this Monarch Pass we're going through is at 11,000 feet plus elevation. I had no idea we were that high. I guess a lot of Coloradians would say that. On this episode of The Journey, we go hunting for hot springs in Colorado. There was a sign that said, do not climb on the hot springs, but we didn't see any signs that said, do not swim in the pool behind the hot springs. Followed by cold springs in Colorado, as we fill up our drinking water. Then we make our way from cold snow back to hot deserts as we explore Mesa Verde before leaving Colorado and heading west to Monument Valley. Today's made-up sponsor is Pot Hockets. Pot Hockets are the easy way to eat when you're on the go. Pot Hockets can easily be baked in multiple fashions. If you prefer to nuke your Pot Hocket, just throw it in the microwave for full radiation exposure. If you prefer for your Pot Hocket to be as cold and hard as an iceberg, put it in for precisely 1 minute and 59 seconds. But if you prefer for it to singe the roof of your mouth off, just put it in for 2 minutes and 1 second precisely. That 2-second difference can take you from Antarctica down to the pit of a place called HE Double Hockey Sticks. Consult your cousin's friend's dog if you continue to make such terrible eating decisions. Now, back to the video. So we were driving by and saw this on the side of the road and thought, well, what is that? So we turned around and found out this is a hot spring right off the road. Oh my gosh, spring! That's epic! I don't care what anybody say, I came here to Colorado to experience some nature. So I'm gonna be experiencing some nature and I'm getting in it. Cannonball!
It's hot.
Is it really hot? Well, we just captured a little bit of the action at the hot spring and it was a blast. We just left the hot springs that we didn't know existed until we just drove by and saw the crazy sculptural thing.
Those
right?
are called Pinkerton Hot Springs, and they've been around for who knows how long, but in use since the late 1800s.
There was a sign that said, do not climb on the hot springs, but we didn't see any signs that said, do not swim in the man-made pool behind the hot springs. So we went for it, and it was totally worth it.
How hot do you think they were?
I would guess they were about 96, 97 degrees. It felt like just slightly warm bath water, which was perfect for the children. A little cool for me, but what was cool about it is the temperature never got cooler, like in a bathtub. So it stayed just this nice little warmth. And even as these like snow clouds were rolling in and stuff, it stayed same amount of warmth the entire time. So we all had a blast. It was awesome. I just feel like in so many ways, that's what we were made for. Finding that kind of stuff in nature, you know? It's like hot springs are literally the God-given bathtubs. Now granted, I know there's not a million of hot springs all around. Not everyone could have their own hot spring in their backyard, as far as I'm aware. But it's really cool to be able to hit something like that and just see kind of the provision side. Just one thing I'll say is it was dirty, but I could tell there was tons of good minerals in it. My skin felt very alive coming out of it, which is
only dirty from like algae and stuff. Like
yeah, that's what I mean.
Natural.
Yeah, very natural. It's all like natural. You know, there was like natural algae and good bacteria. it just wasn't, you know, like a crystal clear spring-fed lake or something, you know. Because you gotta remember, it's pouring over all of that like red rock and clay and everything. It's bound to have that kind of little more sediment, kind of milky vibe. So it looks like there's either wildfires or controlled fires, but I see a helicopter in the distance with a water thing. I imagine it's that, because I can tell there's fire smoke on the other side of that hill.
None of the locals seemed to worry too much about it, so neither did we.
After making it into Durango and camping for a couple nights, we actually wanted to go on a hunt for different hot springs that had multiple pools. It was just going to take a couple mile hike, and let's just say things did not go as planned. You'll see.
Ooh. Well, no guardrails here. You're off, you're gone.
So, where are we going today?
We're going to the hot springs in
Dedra
River.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with gravel roads. I like gravel roads. But when you get on a road and it's like this, and then it's like 6 more miles, that's when you're like,
What has my life gotten me into?
I don't mind it. I just am such a meticulous person who takes care of my vehicles. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to replace these shocks like 50,000 miles earlier than expected. That's all.
It is not that bad.
What? We're going a whopping 10 miles an hour. That means in 5 miles we'll be there in, what, 3.5 days? Whoa! The guy just told us he saw a bear about a half mile back up the hill, so. I heard it was a good idea to make noise if there's a bear close by, so we're just singing really loud. I'm trying to get Cadence to cry, but nothing's really working. Like, I tried telling him we'll never watch Paw Patrol ever again. He just kept a straight face. I don't know what else to try. Getting like a pretty steep incline here at the end of the hike, which means on the way back, I'm gonna be carrying 3 children. I have claimed to be a fly on the wall at times, so I guess I'm allowed to fish. Here we are, we made it to the bottom. The trail's getting a little tight, which is making me wonder if we are on the right trail to the hot spring. Doesn't that look like lettuce?
Yeah,
it smells like lettuce. Does it smell like a chard?
Yeah.
Well, we walked about 2 miles, didn't find the hot springs, so we settled for the river. Some people said it was a mile, some people said it was a mile and a half. Never found it, but it's a beautiful spot. Well, we are heading to find a spring for drinking water because our water vessel's getting pretty low. We struck out yesterday with finding a hot spring, but hopefully today we can find the drinking spring.
Do you want to talk about yesterday?
Not really, I just want to talk about how beautiful you are.
In 10 miles, turn left onto County Route 500.
And you be beauty. And all the other amazing things you do.
So I wanted to tell a story that every time we look out the windows, I tell the kids, hey, look out your window, something amazing. And they all go, wow, which is an appropriate response. It is a wow, but after thousands of miles of driving, I would like a varied response. Let's work on vocabulary. Let's try a different word. And so I started telling them, no, it's stupendous. So Cadence has been learning the word stupendous, and he does pretty good, nailing it down. The other night I'm putting him to bed, and he's snuggling my face, and he goes, Mommy, you're stupid. And I said, do you mean stupendous? He goes, yeah.
That's a good sign. Look at this beautiful drive on the way to the spring. Wow. Gorgeous. spring. We found it. Unfortunately, not a lot of flow. There's some other flow going on down there and over here. Update, we found it. It was a whole 20 feet further down the road. Look at this. You hear that sound? Oh, it's beautiful. Man, that thing's gushing. For all the people who are going to ask the very common question of, is it safe to drink? How do you know it's safe to drink? People often do test these springs, and there's sites online. The main one called findaspring.com, where people usually will share their feedback, how long they've been drinking the water, different tests that have been done on the water. This water has been tested, but even beyond the testing, I usually just look at the terrain. If it's on a mountain, you're way more safe to drink it regardless. With it being higher elevation, there's usually no other tributaries, not near farmland, and people potentially spraying chemicals and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we try to get all of our drinking water in the mountains, because usually you're really high up where the springs are at, and the water tastes incredible. Let's try it out. Delicious. Here you are, my lady. Fill that up. Well, we just finished up at the spring and got our 26 gallons filled up. It took a little while, but it was awesome to have a really cool gentleman named Bob help us out. He let us borrow his 5-gallon vessel at some point to fill ours up a little quicker, and it was just cool meeting him. And then another awesome lady got to chat with, yeah, Brooke was her name. We met another couple people as well, so it was fun meeting a bunch of locals. We were here at the spring so long, we got to connect with some really cool people.
An awesome tasting water too. We are, I guess, water snobs, connoisseurs, and this water tastes incredible. Our favorite spring is in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and this tastes very similar. We really like it.
So we're getting rid of our old French press. It's kind of falling apart.
That's
Kind of. That's what we're telling ourselves. And we got this instead,
The French press.
because it's way nicer and it's gonna keep our stuff way hotter for way longer.
We're also going to be drinking way more coffee every day. Check it out. Eureka. Our new stove. Pretty sweet.
Very exciting. To be able to do breakfast and coffee at the same time, it's very exciting.
So we just finished up boondocking on top of this mountain at Anima's Overlook. And this is the beautiful view. Wake up to. MESA Verde coming up. Do you see it? My eyes are red because I had a bunch of stuff in my eyes.
And he's crying because it hurts his heart.
So beautiful.
We got out to walk the first portion of the MESA Verde tour, but then most of the rest of it was primarily just driving, and so we just pulled off and got a few more shots. We weren't able to get too close up because they had some rock slides near the structures, so we just had to admire it as best we could from a little bit far away.
This might be my favorite view yet.
Interesting. They look like miniatures, don't they?
Not to be too anticlimactic, but here were our thoughts as we left MESA Verde.
So everybody's into these unpopular opinions. What's your unpopular opinion? My unpopular opinion is that MESA Verde was a bit of a letdown. Like, I get the craftsmanship and a lot of work went into it. It just was very far away. And I think if you paid extra to like go into them, then it might have been felt more worth it. But I'm glad that we did MESA Verde first and then Arches and this Canyonlands National Park. because this is absolutely astounding. Like I'm glad we did that first. A lot of people that we met at the campground were doing it the other way. And it just looks like a dollhouse. It's so tiny and it's so far away. It's hard to understand the magnitude of it.
On the next episode of The Journey, we check out Canyonlands, then we drive through a sandstorm on our way to check out Moab and Monument Valley. Also, Arches National Park. You remember the Arches? So stay tuned for that, and until next time, keep living, thriving, and building.